Day 2 of the PCA 10 Super High Roller continues. The rich list has been cut to 20 in this 100K buy-in event, and only the final 8 will walk away any richer. The cream has risen to the top, and the top is where they intend to stay. With $2 million for the winner, some of the world's finest have the title of their lives on the line. Expectations are high here at the Atlantis Resort in the Bahamas, as one of the biggest and longest running festivals in the poker calendar is in full swing. This is the 10th year of the PokerStars.com PCA, and as has become tradition, the 100K Super High Roller has kicked off proceedings.
Everyone's on their A game, everyone's trying their best, because you're not going to win if you don't play your best.
This tournament will mean a lot. This is the first major tournament of 2013, and so to come in with a bang and take it home would just be smooth sailing for the rest of the year.
Every event I play in is important for me to win, Super High Roller especially because of the level of competition. So it's always nice to win, a big buy-in tournament.
Previously, despite the millions on offer, the fun and games continued.
Shak, how many kids do you have?
5. It's a long story.
Serious Selbst showed who's boss, while Elke's PCA Triple Crown dream ended. Hello again, it's James Hartigan with Joe Stapleton. We're down to the last 3 tables, and we will keep going tonight until we are down to the final table.
And nobody's gonna get their grubby mitts on any of that $5.7 million prize pool until we wrap. Top 8 get paid, $2 million for first. Vanessa Selsbt is still alive. Now she is the first female to ever play the PCA Super High Roller, so stay with me here.
Okay.
If she survives the day, that means she'll be the first female to ever make the PCA Super High Roller final table.
You don't say. Meanwhile, Esfandiari, Ivey, and Gruesome are all going strong.
But significantly less female.
Leading the charge is Vanessa Selsbt. She's our current chip leader and is hoping to set a precedent for women competing in Super High Roller tournaments.
It makes sense that there haven't been any women that have played the PCA Super High Roller before because it's the top tournament players in the world, and thus far, there haven't really been any women that have stepped up, so, I'm the first. Hopefully I won't be the last.
It's not just the pros who are gunning for the final table. 4 multi-millionaire amateurs are still in contention. At this stage of the game, everyone left in the field will undoubtedly have their eyes on the ultimate prize. The players returning from a tournament break as the Day 2 action continues.
Places, everyone, places. Intermission's over. The show is about to begin. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Antonio, Stevio, Shakio.
I gotta go, they're dealing.
Right this way, Mr. Ivey. Ivey's headlining the secondary feature table with old Selbsty there. Don't hurt yourself, Danny.
See all that P90.
You and Jason Mercier got a headline table 3. Let's get it. More like let's get some bottles of champagne and lobster tails on Jason's room tab when he wins this thing. It's over $2 million for first.
Nick Schulman is the big stack at our feature table. He's 3rd in chips overall. Erik Seidel is the tournament short stack with the blinds at 8,000, 16,000 with a 2,000 ante. Action is on Seidel, he folds, as does Dan Shak. Schulman in the cutoff will raise to 35,000 with ace-9 off.
This is what we call a late position open.
Fabian Cross has folded, as has Antonio Esfandiari. Steve O'Dwyer, king-9 suited.
All in.
And he shoves from the big blind.
How much? 274.
Now, if Steve weren't dominated, this would typically be a perfect spot for a re-steal. Shoves for fewer than 20 big blinds. This is worst case scenario for Steve. Usually this hand is going to have okay equity when called. Of course, Nick could still fold.
He calls.
Ace Jack.
It's the year of spades.
Ace 10. Ace 9. Wow. Wow, good call. Sick.
That call was right on the line. There aren't going to be many hands Nick's that far ahead of, but he found one of the best ones.
O'Dwyer looking for a king or some spades. Doesn't get him.
Thought it was the year of spades. What's going on?
It's not the year of spades. It's the year of 2 clubs and a diamond. Everybody knows that.
That's more like it.
Uh-oh. Now you got someone.
Oh, Dan Shak, welcome to the commentary booth.
O'Dwyer needs a king or a queen to survive. Doesn't hit.
There's a 9.
That's fine with you,
Yeah.
bro.
Good luck.
You hear Dan Shak call that card hard again? You might be out of a job soon.
If I can have Dan Shak's bank balance, he can have this job. So Nick Schulman eliminates Steve O'Dwyer. He's our 20th place finisher.
O'Dwyer rules.
Over to the secondary feature table. Seidel and Selbst have gone to the flop. Action's gone check, check.
Funny, I've heard many poker players say they wanted to put their hands around Scott Seaver's neck.
Vanessa currently leads with a pair of 7s.
These are 2 of the biggest stacks in the room, by the way.
Seaver checks a second time, and Vanessa now bets her pair, 83,000.
Really big bet, likely protecting what she thinks is the best hand on a scary board.
Seaver with the straight draw calls. And the river brings a queen. Seaver now with top pair. He checks,
There's 7.
and Vanessa checks behind.
Nice river, sir.
The pot is shipped to Seaver. Vanessa lost about 117,000 in that hand. And Scott Seaver is creeping up the leaderboard now, closing the gap on Vanessa Selsbt. Scott playing a stack of just over 1.7 million. But Vanessa still leads the tournament with more than 1.8 million. Schulman, having eliminated O'Dwyer, is now second in chips, and Tony Esfandiari still in the top 5, as is Vladimir Troyanovsky. And he's in action right now on the outer table. In fact, he's just called Daniel Negreanu's all-in. Negreanu in really bad shape. Ace-queen against aces.
Daniel's done. Good run, buddy. GG.
Troyanovsky, 93% favorite here.
Oh, baby.
2 queens on the flop.
This is fun.
Not fun for him.
And Troyanovsky only has 1 out. Daniel doubles up.
160. Declare it. 200. There you go. Wow, there you go. I haven't done that in so long.
It's a good event to do it.
Yeah, last time Daniel sucked out like that, he was still eating meat.
Well, let's head back to the feature table. Erik Seidel is still the tournament short stack. Action's been folded to him.
Boy, that is just the worst tell I've ever seen.
Seidel shoves the button with king 7. Dan Shak, pocket 4s in the small blind.
How much is it?
Even though Seidel is short, this isn't a snap call. For some, it's not even a call at all. I think for the Wall Street guy here, this is a margin call.
197.
Nice. Shak does call. Now, Tom Marchese's just joined the table. He's got ace-king.
What an amazing spot for a squeeze.
All in.
He reshoves from the big, and now the action's back on Shak.
Okay, this isn't a margin call at all. This is a fold. And again, it is not marginal.
I call.
He calls!
Oh, boy.
I think I don't have the best hand.
Nope.
That's what I was hoping for.
Shak in way better shape than he should be. Slightly better than a third of the equity in a 3-way pot.
And a good flop for him.
Don't put like a mid-level card.
You don't want a mid-level card?
Well, I don't want to get counterfeited.
You don't want a 9 if you could take a card?
I'll take a 9.
Okay, I'm just checking.
I'll take a 9. Okay, I'm trying to. I don't want to. Any card's going to be a sweat card. Any card's going to be a sweat card.
Give him a 9 or a 7. Either one is good.
Any card's going to be a sweat card for me. I can see that. Unless it's a 4.
Wow!
There you go.
Bingo. That's it.
Shak attack.
Seidel is out. Marchese's crippled.
And speechless.
That'll do it. That's what you didn't want a mid-level card. I mean,
I got greedy.
Don't worry, guys. Erik Seidel's going to be just fine.
Sorry about that. I hope that you don't consider that celebrating.
I liked if you just folded pre-flop.
What do you think of Shak's call? You know what to do. Tag your constructive criticism PCA 10.
And if you want to throw stones, just remember Dan Shak finished second in this thing last year, so he kind of knows what he's doing, right?
At the outer table, one of our other poker enthusiasts, Greg Jensen, is all in. He's shoved with fours, and he's run into the pocket queens of Vladimir Troyanovsky.
And he is a 4-to-1 dog.
There is a 4 on the flop.
Okay, well, obviously 4s are the nuts.
Troyanovsky lost with aces against ace-queen. And unless he hits a queen on the river, he's going to lose with queens against 4s.
He's been getting sucked out on more often than a straw.
Jensen doubles up through the Russian.
I don't want to say Greg Jensen is lucky, but he's also a gazillionaire.
Troyanovsky was among the tournament chip leaders, but he's lost 2 big pots in a row. Jensen, who, let's not forget, is playing this tournament for fun, is now a contender with a stack of 762,000. Well, we've just lost Tom Marchese from our feature table, so we are down to 17 players. Are we going to be down to 16? Phil Ivey all in with ace-king against Doc Sands' pocket kings.
Tough to be dominated with ace-king, but occasionally cold decks will find a way.
Ivey drawing thin, just 13% equity. 3 outs in the deck. And he spikes an ace!
The kid from Atlantic City knows all about the New Jersey turnspike.
Doc Sands does not hit the case-king on the river. Ivey survives and doubles up.
Dr. Sands just got his PhD in old school suckouts. What?
Ivey up to 725,000. If you want to play in an EPT event, go to PokerStars.com, where there are qualifiers every day. It's the 10th year of the PokerStars.com PCA, and one man who's made it to every single one is Daniel Negreanu. Having final tabled the main event of the very first PCA, and having finished runner-up in the inaugural Super High Roller in 2011, Daniel has plenty of PCA memories.
I'm going to say that my favorite memory had to be when I was playing heads up with Eugene Kachelov. You know, he won the tournament and I was happy for him, but I remember he's posing there, you know, in front of the cameras. He's got this thing like this, and I'm like, you know what? I had pocket 5s, he had pocket 4s. If he didn't hit that 4, I might have won this thing. So I just decided to run by while he was getting filled. I grabbed the trophy, and it almost broke. And Eugene was kind of like, what the? Did that just really happen? So that was really fun for me.
You know, it was really fun for Eugene. Calling security.
Negreanu in action here. He's raised from the cutoff to 42,000. Decision on Phil Gruesome in the big blind.
Call.
We're going to see a flop. Negreanu with the betting lead and with the advantage of position. A flop of deuce 5-4 rainbow. Gruesome checks to the razor.
Daniel's typically going to c-bet here, and he's also typically supposed to win it.
50,000.
Looks like Phil Gruesome's going to tell him what he can do with that c-bet.
The blue chips are worth 5,000 each. The greens are 25,000. The yellows are the smallest chips in play. They're worth 1,000.
Gruesome thinks he can sneak that green in there, but we saw it.
It's a check raise to 135,000.
I'm all in.
Daniel shoves.
I call. Try my
I have nothing.
Whoops.
Oh, okay, it was like a flip. Flip with gut shot. Yeah, that too.
Daniel needs an ace, queen, or 3 to survive.
3.
Additional outs.
Now 3 of spades.
Ace 3, 2 spade. 3 9. Okay, I get to pee at least.
Well, there's something.
Hey, I'll join you for drinks later.
Okay, sounds good. All right, I'm using the bathroom.
When you gotta go, you gotta go. Daniel's got a great track record in Super High Rollers, but he exits here in 17th. To the secondary feature table, where Mike Watson has shoved over the top of Phil Ivey's open.
Well, this is going in.
Sure enough, Ivey calls. And Mike Mad Dog Watson will need an ace or hearts.
Arf!
Not really the flop he wanted.
Yeah, stupid flop for ace jack of hearts. Well, he does pick up some gut shot outs.
Watson needs an ace or a queen. Nope.
Hello, guys.
Yeah, man, dog.
Ivey up to over $1 million in chips. Watson out in 16th. It's time for a redraw. We have our final 2 tables. Schulman and Mercier moving to the secondary TV table. Phil Ivey off to the main stage.
Doc Sands hopping on the stage due to a basketball injury incurred playing with Jason Mercier.
Vanessa Selsbt also at the TV table. She's still the tournament chip leader with a stack of nearly $2 million. Ivey's worked his way into the top 5 behind Scott Seaver and last year's runner-up Dan Shak. Antonio Esfandiari, the one-time tournament chip leader, now appears in the bottom half of the leaderboard. The 2 players at immediate risk are Bill Perkins and Vladimir Troyanovsky. Blinds are up, quite a crowd building on the rail. Action's on Phil Ivey here. Ace-9 under the gun +1. He raises to 55,000. Esfandiari folds.
He's had to tighten up a bit with that chip stack, plus not as many chirping chips.
Action on Bill Perkins on the button. Jack-7 suited. That goes in the muck. Vanessa Selsbt in the small blind. Will pass. Fabian Cross in the big blind.
Fabian doesn't have a ton of chips either.
Ace-5 off. He defends.
And I think this is a play better made when you're deeper. I think that's a fine spot to fold, actually.
7-3 deuce flop.
Both miss, but Fabian picks up a few outs to a gutty.
Checks to the razor. Ivey continues for 80,000.
Now, once Fabian calls pre-flop, he does have to peel at least once here.
Fabian, one of 2 remaining German players. Both he and Phil Gruesome are in for 2 bullets.
That's $200,000.
So Cross does call. He goes to the turn, which is the 8 of hearts.
Board gets a little sloppier, but I don't think Cross is too concerned about hearts with the ace of hearts in his hand.
He checks, and Ivey checks behind. River for free. And it's a river card which could cost Cross some chips. The ace of diamonds.
It could cost him some chips, James.
Word economy, I like. Ivey value bets 150,000.
Ivey's taking the exact kind of line you would expect from a good ace. Fabian's mostly beating bluffs.
He pays him off.
Yeah, I don't think Ivey's going to be bluffing the river very often after checking back the turn, but even still, the river was kind of a gross spot, and it's pretty tough to find a fold there with an ace. And that ace on the river cost him almost half a stack.
Fabian now down to 326,000. Ivey up to nearly $1.5 million. Let's head over to the secondary table. The action was folded around to Greg Jensen on the button, and he has raised to 60,000 with Jack-4 off.
Little steal action from the button.
9-10 for Dan Shak in the big blind. And that is a re-raise. He 3-bets to 128,000.
Dan Shak a 10th in the old re-steal, but it is a little light. You would expect Jensen to be giving this up most of the time, though.
These are 2 of the businessmen left in the field, although Shak's got a lot more poker experience than Greg Jensen.
He's a hybrid.
Wow, what a move from Jensen.
Jensen trying to boss Dan Shak. It's 1% versus 1%. Don't these guys know they're supposed to be united front and keeping the rest of us down?
Shak folds.
Wow, if this were like Wall Street, Dan Shak would get to fold and still collect a 100 million chip bonus.
Well, Greg Jensen now has more than $1 million in chips, and the poker enthusiast proves that he's got game.
I'm Greg Jensen, 38 years old, from Ridgefield, Connecticut, and I'm a co-CEO in an investment management firm. I learned about the PCA. A colleague at work happened to mention it, and then I looked it up on the internet, and I was interested in doing something like this. I enjoy poker a lot. It seemed like a good idea to come down here with my wife. If I do win, we're going to use the money for a variety of the charities that my wife is involved in. She's working on a carousel for Newtown. We all were incredibly touched by the events, incredibly moved to try to do something.
I think about the siblings, and I think about the friends and the classmates and the parents who lost their children. And I think about Newtown, which is a horse town. And I think about the fun and the laughter and the lights and the magic of the horses going around and around. And I envision a horse designed for each of the children. and chariots and horses designed for each of the adults. And it's a magical place. Carousels are a place where people, whether they're young or old, can come together and they can watch each other, they can enjoy playing together. It just feels like it's the right thing to do.
So figured we'd come down here and we'd try this out and see if we win.
Not only is Greg donating 100% of his winnings, but poker is full of this kind of generosity. Gary Katz has made sizable donations to children's charities. Dan Shak donates 10% or more of all of his winnings to charity. And Bill Perkins even has an entire business devoted to helping other small businesses get off the ground.
We're down to 14 players after Vivek Rajkumar was busted by Doc Sands. The Doc now playing a stack of 1.7 million. And he's raising here in early position, makes it 57,000 with ace-5 suited.
The doctor is in.
Perkins is out. Vanessa's not going to play this one. Fabian Cross on the button. Giving it some thought. Nah. See if he gives up the small blind. Ivey has 5 deuce of clubs in the big blind.
This would be a very loose defend, but Ivey's quite deep, and so is Doc, so he can sometimes make a call here profitable, assuming he doesn't go cray-cray and 3-bet.
So, Ivey calls. And we go heads up to the flop.
Ivey not in great shape before the flop.
Ace-5-3, top 2 for Doc Sands. Ivey with a pair of 5s and a gut shot.
And that's actually kind of hitting this flop hard for this kind of hand.
He checks to the razor. Sands continues for 64,000.
Ivey's going to have no problem calling. Pair, gut shot, backdoor clubs, sweet.
He calls. The turn is the 6 of clubs. Additional equity for Ivey.
And that turn card is just awesome sauce for Ivey. Sands 2 pairs still best. He's happy to keep betting for value.
Ivey has checked a second time. And Doc Sands will bet a second time, 177,000.
Now, Ivey can either choose to semi-bluff raise or just call with a pretty disguised hand. You're more likely to see Phil Ivey use a coupon than fold in this spot.
He's picked up his cards. Pump fake. Ivey cutting out raising chips.
Here we go.
He makes it 527,000 total.
I think this semi-bluff might work against any decent single ace. This is a weird spot for Doc. He's not beating any value hands, since Phil's probably not even going to raise a worse 2 pair in this spot. But there also really aren't a lot of value hands possible.
All in.
Sands shoves.
Now who's in a weird spot?
It'll cost Ivey everything he's got.
Wow, this is amazing. Phil Ivey, ladies and gentlemen, is in a spot. Now, Phil thinks all of his perceived outs are live. He absolutely has to make this call. We know his deuce and 5 outs are dirty, which means he has to make his flush or a gut shot, which also won't always be good. Phil Ivey is kerfuffled. I think he's certainly regretting that check raise now. Doc's got to know he's ahead, but I don't know if that means he can relax or that he wants a call. Even knowing what the cards are, Phil's actually getting good enough odds to call, but the variance in this spot is massive. It doesn't matter what chips he counts out, it is all in to call.
This is the biggest pot of the tournament so far.
He's thinking about how this never would have flown in 2006.
I guess you could have that, maybe. And I'm not in bad. I'm not in that bad shape, but there's no way you have that. This is so. This one's funny. This one is funny.
Phil Ivey's been spending too much time with Daniel Negreanu.
Okay.
surprising to see Ivey squirm like this. Surprising he didn't actually have a plan of what he'd do if Doc Sands came over the top of his check raise.
All right, okay, I'll call.
Ivey's gonna go for it.
Gulp.
Fives and deuces no good. He needs a club or a 4 on the river.
So stupid I am.
Now he's been spending too much time with Yoda. Ivey does have 12 outs, which means he's going to hit a little more than 1 out of every 4 times.
It's a 6 on the river. We lose Phil Ivey.
Yeah, Phil. Thanks.
This time the Doc does take out the IV.
He's just won the biggest pot of the tournament so far. He now has over 3 million. He's the monster chip leader as Ivey heads to the rail.
Phil goes from 1.4 million to out in 14th. Nobody saw that coming.
We're hurtling rapidly towards the final table here at the PokerStars.com PCA 10 Super High Roller. And before the break, we witnessed the biggest hand of the tournament with the legendary Phil Ivey showing rare signs of emotion and confusion. His opponent, Doc Sands, 3-bet jammed the turn, putting Ivey all in. A decision that really put him to the test.
All right, okay, I'll call.
He needed any club or a 4 on the river, but it was not to be. And Ivey departed in 14th place, 6 off the money. Back at the feature table, action's been folded around to Bill Perkins on the button.
Perky!
That work? Action time.
He has shoved.
Selbsty time. Uh-oh. It looks like they're coming. Love you, Perky. Nice knowing you.
It was nice knowing me.
Nice knowing you, Perky.
Oh, I'm dead. No. Diamonds.
Diamonds are a billionaire's wife's best friends. Selbst the favorite, but there's also a chance they chop.
Perkins ideally looking for a 7 or some diamonds on the flop.
It's not a good flop.
Speaking of diamonds, check out that rock on Vanessa's fiance.
Not good.
There's no 8, but it's not good.
Make it obvious who you're rooting for, Antonio.
Perky's my man.
Who is he rooting
I love
for?
you, but Perky's my man.
I thought there was love.
We all love you, Vanessa, but no one wants you to have chips.
I think it's over.
You have to really believe the walkaway.
Good point. I didn't believe it.
He could still hit a 7.
No. It's over. Thank you.
Good game, Bill.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Love you, Perky.
Good game, Bill. Yeah, thanks.
Play Perky.
Man hug.
Bill Perkins departs. Vanessa Selsbt sitting comfortably on a stack of nearly 2.4 million. Sort of Vanessa's PCA memories.
A couple of days ago at this PCA, I just got engaged to my girlfriend. We've been together for about 3 years, and she loves coming down to the Bahamas, so I decided I was going to do it in New York, actually. Like, I had this whole plan set up, and the last minute, I realized that it would be really cool to do it down here. We had the first day before I was playing any poker, and we spent the day together and stuff, and just like, you know, whatever, cheesy, kind of like on the beach and whatever, but she said yes, so that's awesome. I was a little nervous, only because, I don't know, it's like you see it in the movies and stuff, and like there's no right way to do it, I guess, but you're like, you agonize over that decision, like how to do it for so long, and I don't know, so I think it was kind of awkward. I kind of like blurted it out. That definitely tops everything for my favorite PCA memory.
How much you want to bet in that marriage that the wife calls all the shots?
Well, the action has been folded to Vanessa in the cutoff, and she's raising to 55,000 with King 9 suited. Scott Seaver will call from the small blind with King Queen.
Standard.
Phil Gruesome with Ace 9 of clubs in the big blind.
I'd expect him to come along for the ride with a decent suited ace and some solid pot odds.
He does call, 3-way to the flop. And that flop is Queen High with 2 clubs.
Gut shot in the aggression lead from Vanessa, top pair for Scott, and over to gut shot in the nut flush draw for Gruesome. See you at the river.
Both blinds check to Vanessa, and she continues for 83,000. Scott Seaver with top pair will call. So what does Philip Gruesome do with his draw?
Well, his hand's way too strong to fold. And he's probably not going to call and maybe miss.
I'm all in.
He check raises all in. Vanessa insta-folds.
But on the other hand, I'm just wildly strong here. I have it.
Gross spot for Scott. I think he's got to call all the draws out there, though.
Okay, that hand totally kills me. That would suck. Now that I said that, I'm sure that's going to be what he has.
There are some hands Scott would be doing well against. Queen Jack and Queen 9.
Call.
Seaver calls. It's a flip.
Yeah, that face says it all.
Gruesome looking for an ace, jack, or club.
I couldn't tell if it was, I just saw it was black too from the slow peel. Yeah, no, I see now, but.
No help for Gruesome on the turn, but a club on the river.
Understandable response from Scott Seaver. They got it in as a flip, but it always feels like you got sucked out on when they get there on the river. Really just no other way for Gruesome to play it.
He's up to 1.7 million now. Well, there is an all-in at the secondary table. Jason Mercier has called Vladimir Troyanovsky's shove with kings. Mercier is behind, but Troyanovsky has not had much luck with the best hand today. So far, so good for the Russian.
Is it justice time?
I think if anyone's deserving of justice, it's Troyanovsky.
He's now an 81% favorite. That gives Jason some hope.
Okay.
10 helps a bit, but not as much as having 3 more cards to come.
Troyanovsky finally triumphs with a big pocket pair.
Okay. Doc Sands may have been the one to get hurt on the court, but Jason's going to be limping away from that pot.
Fantastic.
Fantastic 4, which is exactly the number of big blinds he has.
We've got an all-in at the feature table. Fabian Quast shoves with ace-7, only to be called by Doc Sands with aces.
Fabian looking for 2 sevens across the board.
There's one of them.
It's a start.
He is the player at risk. And he has 2 outs and only 1 chance to hit. He's gone.
Good game, Fabian.
Good luck.
Good game, sir.
Good game.
Well, Fabian will not be crossing the finish line, and we've only got 1 German remaining. Of the 4 who entered, they're in for 9 bullets, 2 for Philly over here.
And look what's happened to Doc Sands' chip stack in the last 24 hands.
Take a guess where his hand with Ivey is on that graph.
He's still the huge chip leader with 11 players remaining, just 3 away from the final table, 3 away from the money, with more than $2 million up top for the winner. It's time for us to sweat with Vanessa Selsbt. We're only going to see her hole cards here.
As long as we didn't have to sweat her on that awkward marriage proposal, no thank you. Doc Sands, brought to you by the makers of Bullet Time Slow Motion from the Matrix trilogy.
Under the gun, he will raise. 64,000. Vanessa with ace-king under the gun +1.
Now, even though we're in early position, we have position on Doc.
She just calls.
I like the just call from early. We both have huge chip stacks, so there's no reason to go to war.
The blinds are folded, so it's heads up to the flop. And it's a clubby flop, king high.
Top pair in the nut flush draw. Where are we going? Nowhere. We're going nowhere. We're happy to play for all of the chips.
Doc Sands continues for 88,000.
I like a call here even more than before the flop. We have a very strong hand, but there aren't many that can call a raise that we're ahead of. When we call, it disguises both the strength of our hand and our strong redraw.
Having called the bet, Vanessa sees the 6 of hearts on the turn.
Still like our hand. We can pretty much call every street blindly and not really worry about it.
Here comes a second barrel from the doctor. 244,000.
Boy, that's a big bet. I think Doc might be able to put us on a big club or a big hand, but probably not both.
Vanessa calls a second time. 857,000 in the middle now. 3 of diamonds on the river.
What a brick. All that potential on the flop. Now all we've got is a pair of kings.
And a pair of 3s.
Good point, well made, James. Doc's got that pair of 3s too, though.
He bets 547,000 on the river. That is a chunky bet.
Boy, I really don't like this. Doc could be betting a worse hand for value, but it's pretty unlikely, which means all we've got is a bluff catcher. Now, if we think Doc might be just putting us on busted clubs, we could make this call. But with Vanessa's propensity to call light, I don't know that Doc does this very often with nothing. When we just called under the gun +1, I think big hands become a fairly big part of our range, and if Doc knows this and he's still betting, he's probably not bluffing us. Trying to bluff Vanessa Selsbt is usually as ill-advised as the t-shirt that looks like a tuxedo I'm going to be wearing at our wedding.
She folds.
Let's see it.
King Jack.
Awesome fold. Sweet fold, Vanessa.
When they want to show the camera again, it's not
It's a
good.
bad sign. I shouldn't have folded that hand, but thought he had it. Didn't make sense from the bluff.
Not into you, it doesn't.
Nice hand, dude.
I'd like to point out he wasn't playing the threes on board.
You know it's gonna be on TV, so you might as well just tell me after the tournament.
Yeah, but I don't get European TV. I might forget and then get to relive the moment.
Come on, the kid's young, but he's good.
He's very strong.
Plays good.
Very strong.
Must have been Queen of Clubs 10. Unless you're just nuts.
The doctor is in.
And up to nearly 4 million in chips. Is it just me, or is anyone else shocked that Vanessa actually found the fold button there? Tag your tweets. PCA 10. Just 11 players remain in the PokerStars.com PCA 10 Super High Roller. 8 will make the final table, and only those 8 will make a profit. So 3 players will walk away with nothing to show for their investment of at least $100,000. Before the break, Doc Sands consolidated his chip lead after a clash with his main rival, Vanessa Selsbt.
I make my standard open with King Jack suited, and Vanessa calls right behind. Now, Vanessa's going to be calling with a pretty wide range here, I think, because I have the chip lead, and she is either second or third in chips. I think she could flat a hand as weak as, you know, a 5-6, 5-7 suited because we're so deep, but I also think she could flat a hand as good as queens. The flop comes King Jack 3, all clubs. And I led for 88,000 into about 200,000, so a little under half pot. And Vanessa called. At this point, I'm pretty confident I have the best hand. There's obviously a handful of combos where she can flop a flush, but there's a lot more combos where I have the best hand, so I need to try to extract value with my hand. So I bet 240 on the turn into about 380, which is a pretty sizable bet. And she called again. Then I bet 547 on the river. It was a relief when she sighed, because I knew I had the best hand, and then I was rooting for her to call. And she tanked for maybe 3 or 4 minutes and folded. And she said she had ace-king, which is a really impressive fold. I wouldn't put it past her to fold that hand. Kudos to Vanessa if she did, because that's an excellent fold. And obviously, we could have got a lot more money if she flopped, you know, top pair and the nut flush draw. But I'm excited to see the broadcast and see if she was telling the truth about her hand.
Nice hand.
Doc, does that mean you got European TV? OMG, you have to watch Made in Chelsea. Text me immediately after.
We have an all-in at the feature table. Antonio Esfandiari shoved the button with 10s. And Vanessa Selsbt is called in the big blind with ace-deuce.
That's 71% is both Antonio's equity and his smugness.
The flop is king 9-8.
Vanessa casually looking for a suck out.
Antonio just has to fade. An ace on the turn and river. He's now a 93% favorite to double up.
Antonio's girlfriend and Vanessa's fiance both sweating it big time.
And the river is a 4.
Antonio doubles up to more than 25 big blinds, a big deal at this stage. And he is just on an incredible life hot streak.
Oh, baby cakes.
Woohoo!
What was that?
I think Vanessa's disappointed in the play, but I think he would have been shoving pretty wide there.
Well, the all-ins just keep coming over to the secondary table where Greg Jensen has shoved with 5s. He's been called by Dan Shak with king-queen. It is a race.
Shak's missed the flop, but he picks up 4 more outs.
Evens the score out a little bit.
please tell me the 10 king or queen?
I can't tell you that, but it is a diamond.
Which means he picks up even more outs.
He now has 16 of them. Jensen hoping the fives hold. And they do.
And that is Juan Lu's brick face.
Nice hand.
Wow, I dodged a lot of outs.
Jensen now up to nearly 1.6 million. Back to the feature table, where Doc Sands has a ridiculous chip lead. Scott Seaver is the shortest stack.
Well, we've come to this hand 6 minutes late, and Doc Sands is still tanked under the gun.
Looks like he's raising. Sure enough, he makes it 64,000 to play. He has ace-deuce offsuit. Vanessa Selsbt has 7-5 suited.
This would be an awfully light call, so I think typically if Vanessa's playing this hand, she's 3-betting it.
No, she's calling.
String calling.
Seaver folds the button. Gruesome in the small blind will also pass. Antonio gives up the big blind. We're off to the flop. And it's Jack 4 deuce with 2 clubs.
Pretty good flop for Doc. Pairs his kicker, has the backdoor flush draw, got the wheel draw.
He continues for 84,000.
Now Vanessa's gonna go for the raise when she's missed completely.
Interesting. 233,000 total.
Presumably because she just called last time before the flop with a huge hand. Hey Miranda, this is what it looks like when your fiance punts. Doc is going nowhere.
He calls the raise. And with 659,000 in the middle, we're off to the turn, which is the queen of clubs. Sands now with the nut flush draw to go with his pair, albeit bottom pair.
Such a good card for Doc, and subsequently a terrible one for Vanessa to continue her bluff.
Sands has checked to her.
Oh boy, it's 4th and 25, and Vanessa is bringing in the kicker.
She bets 347,000 with absolutely nothing.
Now don't get me wrong, this is a heck of a stone bluff. Unfortunately, Doc's got a hand that just always has massive equity against Vanessa's range. A lot of the time she's gonna be monkeying around, and worst case scenario, he's never drawing dead.
He calls the bet. The pot is now over 1.35 million. Vanessa is the effective stack. She has 1.1 million behind.
And she is gonna have to empty the clip on the river, and even that might not work. Did I say might not work? I meant definitely won't work.
Yes, she's paired her 5, but it's the 5 of clubs. The stone cold nuts for Doc Sands, and he checks it!
She can empty the clip all she wants. She is firing blanks. Better just throw down your guns and come out with your hands up.
I'm all in.
Call.
She bluff shoves the river!
You're good.
Snap! The nuts are good.
Just nothing. Nice hand. Yeah, the ace jack with ace clubs.
Vanessa Selsbt is out.
Again.
Wicked good check by Sands on the end.
And Vanessa misses the money by just 2 spots.
Come move your head.
I'll tell you after the day's over. I'll tell you.
Just tell me my head.
You made a good fold.
Come on, tell her now. What's this guy's deal?
Hey, what is she doing? He checked and she just shifted.
That's gonna look worse on TV than it actually was.
So close to the final table, yet so far. Well, we need to get to the secondary table.
Oh, Jesus.
Schulman shoved on Mercier. He calls and finds that he's way behind.
I mean, did I say it out loud?
You sort of muttered it to yourself. At this point, with the 40, well, no, you got a little meat on there.
Kings, huh?
2 kings. In they came, and out they went.
Speaking of out, that's where Jason's about to be.
All right.
Picks up a bit of hope on the flop. Needs an ace or a 10 to survive. Picks up additional outs on the turn. Needs an ace, 10 or 6 on the river. But it's a queen.
All right, good luck, guys.
Like the little flip there, nice.
Good luck, everybody.
You're the magician staying in that long. Amazing.
Yeah, good luck.
Antonio's the magician. Jason's the bubble bubbler. Oof.
See you, buddy.
Jason Mercier out in 10th. We are down to 9. We are down to 1 table, and we are on the bubble. Doc Sands in the 9 seat is the overwhelming chip leader. Vladimir Troyanovsky and Carrie Katz are the short stacks. So one player will miss out on a seat at the first final table of 2013. Plus, they'll be the victim of one of the biggest bubbles in poker.
228,000 or nothing.
Antonio Esfandiari, ace-jack suited, raises, makes it 90K. Ace-king for Doc Sands.
Does he just call or does he try to 3-bet, get it in?
Those are raising chips. It is a 3-bet to 170,000. Tens for Schulman.
What do we have here? Schulman could chip over the top, but this is the bubble.
He lets it go. Dan Shak has junk, he mucks. Greg Jensen, Scott Seaver, Troyanovsky, they all fold. So action's back on Esfandiari.
Oh man, magicians always have the hottest assistants. Don't know if Antonio can get away from this one.
I'm all in.
He shoves.
All in.
Call.
And Doc Sands calls.
Nice hand.
Really frustrating spot. Antonio's now a 70% favorite to bubble and walk out of this tournament with nothing. Though after winning the biggest buy-in tournament of all time a few months ago, we're all playing diamond-encrusted violins for him.
Looking for a jack or some clubs on the flop. Not much there for him.
Only one club on the flop. Some chop possibilities developing.
If Doc's ace-king holds, we have our final table and the remaining 8 players are in the money.
That deuce on the turn means Antonio can now hit a 4 or a jack to stay alive. No matter how much money you've won in your life, this moment is intensity in 10 cities.
Such a gross feeling. Yeah.
These 100K bubbles really are gross.
The river is a deuce. Antonio bubbles the super high roller.
Nice hand, sir.
Good game, buddy.
Nice playing with you.
Tough spot for a girlfriend on the rail. Bust out there and you are pretty much inconsolable.
In such a big presence in this tournament, but he will not have a seat at the final table.
I have to tell you something, I'm shocked.
We're all shocked. No one saw Antonio bubbling this event.
Shocked and disappointed. Such a shame.
We're done, right?
Laugh it up, Fuzzball. Scott money bubbled last year. Greg Jensen has cashed this year, guaranteeing his charity a 6-figure score. That is awesome.
The last 8 players all guaranteed at least $228,000. Remember, the winner will receive more than $2 million. And Doc Sands, strong favorite to win the title with a ludicrously humongous chip lead.
One thing that's good about the final table is that there's quite a few amateurs at it, and I've had really tough table draws, so I haven't really played with any of them, or a lot of them, throughout the course of the tournament. So I'll need to try to pick up as much information as possible about those players and then kind of incorporate that in my game plan. So I'm just going to try to go in, feel them out, and then go from there.
Thank you so much. Good luck tomorrow.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Next time, it's the final table. Can anyone overcome Doc Sands and his monster chip lead?
Had all day to think what you're gonna do. I guess I'm all in, man.
What's the rumor about Scott, that he's a liar?
8 will become 1, and we will crown the next super high roller champion.
This is not how I thought things would go.